Alright everyone, how's everyone this Friday evening? Welcome to the weekly Golden Vendor. So for today, let's see. Hopefully things are better than the week before. And let's take a look. So the first thing we have up is I Heart Geese, a monster's helm from Dire Frost Basic Dungeon. Dire Frost is a basic dungeon that is pretty easy to clear. To get the Ice Heart Geese, you will have to do it on Vet. Not hard at all to beat. And I believe the second piece, when you deal critical damage, you have 20% chance to gain a damage shield that absorbs 2412 damage for 6 seconds. While the damage shield holds, you deal 494 frost damage to all enemies within 5 meters of you every 1 second. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds, and the damage scales off the higher of your weapon and spell damage. Is this set worth getting in the Golden Vendor? Well, let's see. Dire Frost is a basic dungeon. When you clear it on Vet, you can easily get the high Ice Heart. It used to be more buffed. There was a time that this was similar to Slime Crawl. For many that don't know, Slime Crawl for its time and still to this day, people use it on trials, more for the one piece. Before it used to be 2-piece, but because the second buff on the Slime Crawl is no longer as valid, you can use the situational, but a lot of things have the salvary buff. But with Ice Heart, it is great for long distance, especially situations where you want to be long range and not melee. It is nerfed a few years now. Would it be worth getting? It's fun, still usable. Not as strong as it used to be, but I will say definitely run it, especially on a toon that may need a helm, or if you need a helm. Keep in mind that monster helms are pretty niche. That's the reason why they try to make it crit, because they're pretty niche and situational where you no longer need a full piece to make it work. You can mix and match, so it's more preference of the person or the eye of the beholder. So I say get it, but you don't need to buy it in the Golden Vendor. Save your AP, save your 100k gold. You can easily just farm it in the Vet dungeon. The next set we're gonna look at is Sentinel Avracugum's Geese. Hope I said that right. I always mispronounce it, but either war. This monster helm is used mostly for supports, especially healers, sometimes tank. This comes from Darkshade Caverns 1. And this one is also very easy to clear as well. The second piece, when you heal yourself or an ally, you summon a Dwener spider that heals for 965 health and restores 121 magicka and stamina to your allies within 5 meters every 1 second for 8 seconds. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. I would say it's a decent set. It is fun. I do have it on my tank for fun. Sometimes I want to be lazy and I want to just lazy tank around, in 4-man especially, and I can just have it. I kind of find it like a health pod, if you can kind of call that. There's a lot better monster heal sets nowadays, especially for support. This one is no longer the best one. It's okay. It's fun. I would say super fun. Would I get in the Golden Vendor? No. I would definitely get it, but I would just clear it on the dungeon, Vet dungeon. Like I said, it's an easy dungeon. Anyone can clear it. You can pug it pretty easily. No problem at all. Alright. Then the next one is we're going to jewelry. Now keep in mind, they rotate. 1 week they rotate to gold rings, 1 week they rotate to gold necklaces. So last week was automaton necklaces, this week is automaton rings, and that also comes from Darkshade Cavern 1 and 2. Now to save mats, sometimes it is worth buying in the vendor certain jewelry because it's gold, and as you may know, in the guild traders, gold mats for jewelry is really expensive. Body gold is a little more, is still expensive, but a little bit more doable. But jewelry can cost you an arm. So let's see what the 5th piece does on this. Comes with Darkshade Caverns, adds 400 weapon and spell to your physical and bleed damage abilities. So this set is actually a really good set. However, it's overlooked, severely underrated for several factors. One, we're in the proc set era, is still there. We're also in the heavy attack era, so it kind of leans from people getting automatons. And the third is because back in the days, this did not have physical and bleed damage abilities. What it used to have, it was just give 400 to your physical damage abilities, and that will be all. You know, and physical, it sounds kind of lackluster, but what they did to a physical and bleed damage ability is pretty useful. Keep in mind 400 weapon and spell damage. A lot of people look for flat stats or stats that give a lot of enhancement to the weapon and spell. So this sometimes is underlooked too, because people don't really know how this benefits or what it does or enhance. So I'll give you an example. It says add weapon and spell damage to your physical and bleed damage abilities. So that means every skill that you have that has bleed and physical, you know, so depending on the class, I'll give you an example. I know Nightblades have, my Stand Blade has quite a few physical abilities. So all those get enhanced by 400. But keep in mind, it's sometimes it's a lot more than just 400. That's considered the enhancement, the class passives, everything around it, the other sets. I'll give you an example. War Maiden. War Maiden does magic damage abilities. Gives enhance your damage to your magic damage abilities. So I had one time one of my magic damage abilities where it said 400 weapon and spell, give me maybe 1000, 2000 magic damage extra. So that's pretty cool. Is this worth set getting? I would say yes. You can, like I said, you can farm this in Dark Shade. It's not hard to get. However, because it's gold mats, to save the gold mats, I will say yes, it's worth buying if you want to go this route. Then the next is Ring of Bahara's Curse. Rings of Bahara's Curse comes from Hugh's Bane Overland, and it's from the DLC Thieves Guild. So let's take a look at what this does. When you deal damage, you have a 25% chance to create discreted ground for 5 seconds, which reduces the movement speed of enemies within 3.5 meters by 60%. Damage them for 461 magic damage every 1 second, and heals you for 100% of damage done. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds, and damage goes off your max health. Now, after reading all this, you're mumbo jumbo, you're like, what? Well, pretty much what you read is pretty much what you think. Nietzsche, not a bad set. I mean, it could be better. Back then, this set was pretty cool because it was kind of like the more downgraded version of the Overland set from, if anybody ever played with False Gods, it was similar to that. Well, kind of. So it was pretty fun because you're like, hey, if I'm not going to go into Sunspire, I can just get Bahara's Curse. They're pretty similar. They changed it now where it's completely different. It's pretty niche. I mean, if you're going to experiment and you can find a way to put this in your build, cool. But even with that being said, because you're experimenting, I would say save your AP. It's in the Overland. You can simply just get it and try it out there. The next is Ring of the Imperium. This comes from Ring of the Imperium comes from White Gold Tower, and that's the Imperial City DLC. When you take damage, you grant you and your group members within 8 meters a damage shield that absorbs 630 damage for 6 seconds. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds. This set is mostly used for tanks and support roles. Keep in mind, it says 5630. I am in a low level tune. With the enhancements, especially if you're running a tank, it'll probably go closer to 6 or 7k damage shield. You don't see it as much in trials. Situational, maybe every now and then. You don't see it as much because now, you know, nowadays everybody's really crazy about having high damage buffs and things that give damage to the group. And this is more of a shield thing. You will see this more used for 4-man content, especially if you're trying to get no death or trying to do harder content in 4-man, or especially in arenas. Definitely good for arenas as well, especially if you're doing solo where you have no healer, no tank, and you want to put that in your arsenal if you can fit it in your build. It's definitely a good. Would I say get it? I would say yes, because you can. It's well rounded. You can use it for different scenarios. You can use it for your tank. You can use it for your healer. You can use it for your DPS. It's worth the buy. And it's also from a DLC dungeon. Save the time. If you have AP, sure, get it in gold in the golden vendor. Then finally we have Thunderbugs Ring. Oh wow, an oldie. So Thunderbugs Ring, it comes from the Overland Malabator. Alright, let's take a look at what this does. This set is a tanky set. I remember people doing it for PvP, some PvE-ish back in the days. It's been so long. This set used to be a lot more buffed. Not the same damage stats as it used to. But let's take a look. When you take physical damage, you deal 1360 shock damage in a 5-meter radius around you. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds and scale off the higher of your weapon and spell damage. Alright, to my opinion, is it worth getting? No, because the same thing as the Overland. You can get it from there. It'll save you the money, save you the hassle. I mean, if you have AP, a ton of AP that you want to waste, I guess, but you can get it in the Overland. Is it a bad set? No, it's actually pretty fun. I like the animation. Not the same as it used to be, but just for the fun of it, I would just literally get it. Okay, so with that being said, before I let you go from the Golden Vendor this week, just want to keep in mind that any Overland stuff, such as jewelry, weapons, and body, delve bosses always drop waist and feet. Public dungeons always drop shoulder, hands, weapons, legs, and weapons. Dark anchors, jewelry, and war bosses head and chest whenever you're trying to farm gear or jewelry. However, there are overlands that may be missing something. For example, if they're missing a public dungeon or dark domain or delve, then it will be just random drops in random locations. And keep in mind also, chests around the overland is also random drops. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please don't forget to subscribe as we try to do more and more content to help other people in the game. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give comments. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. Yay! Till next time.